This is an Evergreen Media Network studio production.
Hi, welcome to Silver Linings. I'm your host, sometimes co-host, Janean Barrows. And today I feel very lucky to have in the studio a woman who dedicates her time to helping others in her career and personally. So today we are going to have Lisa Brady, who is a registered nurse and social worker, and she works with RN Life Care Advocates all along the Treasure Coast here. And I feel that she is going to bring light to us today about what private care management looks like, why you might want to implement it into your worlds, and how it adds quality of life to the individual that does have that, and to the families that have that as a partner in their circle of care. So, Lisa, thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you.
I know mornings are crazy. We all have a tight schedule, and I know you said you were racing up here, and hopefully the traffic wasn't too bad.
Wasn't too bad, no.
Yeah, good. So well, maybe roads and bridges are doing a good job expanding as our population does. So that's a good thing to hear. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up in this industry and how you ended up in the field of being a private care manager, registered nurse care manager.
Sure. So I started out as a social worker, actually. I thought I was going to make a big difference and change people's lives, and I did. But I think it's a difficult job. I work for the state.
It is, I've heard. Yeah.
It is. And then as I was going on, I always wanted to go to nursing school, but I was kind of afraid of the math and the science. In 2008, we lost a business, and I jumped right into nursing school.
Nice. You took the leap.
Yeah, I did. And then from nursing school, I never even knew RN care management was a job. And really what it is, it's a cross between social work and nursing. And it kind of brings both of those together. So
it adds the heart to the clinical.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So that's basically how I ended up doing it.
Nice. So I know I get to work with care managers in all kinds of manners when we get personal, when I work with families. And I tend to notice the quality of the relationship between the family members and the would-be client improves drastically when they implement an individual like yourself into their circle of caretakers in their personal circle. Tell us, what does being a care manager mean? What does that entail?
Really, you're an advocate for the patient or for the client.
Ooh, I love advocates.
Yeah. And basically, how we get involved a lot of times is through a trust or a family member. A lot of times family members don't live near their parent or their sibling, and they're worried. Patients that are maybe confused, or maybe they're kind of writing checks 2 times or forgetting things, or not just an emergency. I think they need advocacy through the hospital or with their doctors. So we kind of help in a lot of different ways, but that's sort of how we get involved a lot of times.
So that you get a phone call, I'm imagining that's like, hi, I've noticed that my mom's bank account is really off.
Yes.
And then we've also heard that she's missed a few appointments. And we're concerned because we know that she's got such and such and such as diagnoses, and we're not getting any information. And we want to have a partner that is hands-on, eyes-on, that can be trusted within our family. I'm assuming these are how it kind of goes.
Yes, absolutely.
And so then that leads to, let's do a meet and greet, I'm assuming?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually we'll come out and do an assessment.
What's that look like?
So sometimes, honestly, I get a client and they don't need much. Maybe they just need home health and they just need us to put in a referral, or, maybe they need help shopping or things like that. Other times, we really notice that the patient is very confused. We become more involved. We see them once a week, gather in all the information, put referrals in place, and find out that maybe they can't be at home. So it's all different levels in terms of how much we're involved. But it really depends on each client.
I do understand that because people are all unique, and with us comes unique challenges.
Yes.
So I know that when in my industry, which is coordinating private care services, when we meet with individuals, often guardians or the powers of attorneys, and they say, hey, we're working with this care manager, and they're going to be working with our trust officer or our elder law attorney that's part of our family team. We are ecstatic when that occurs, because that closes the loop from multiple parties being involved. Not that multiple parties are bad, but if you've ever played the game of telephone, it can get a little complicated or confused just through the natural changing of verbiage, changing of the storyline. And so when we work with care managers, it's amazing to see how there is great continuity of communication and care amongst the family members and loved ones and the client base and circle of caregivers. So we love that, and I love to see that. And but I've always wondered how, generally speaking, a family goes about bringing you into play and getting you party to a daily routine. I know in my industry, we get a lot of pushback initially from our clients when they first begin services. There's a hesitation, whether it's based on pride or concerns or not feeling that they want to invest into themselves in that manner. So how does that happen with you all? What do you see when you first go in and you meet and do these assessments?
So I definitely think sometimes you get pushback. A lot of times too, maybe the spouse is doing all the work, and although they're very overwhelmed, they're a little bit hesitant to sort of hand that over. But there's also a lot of caregiver stress, and I think sometimes the family's just relieved to have somebody else kind of take over some of that stuff. So, some of my cases, the family's here, other times they're out of state. But yeah, I think you just have to meet the person where they're at. You have to build a trust for sure. And I think the important part about meeting them is kind of ascertaining what they need, what their personality is, and trying to match that with the services that you put in place. I mean, using Nightingale as an example, you try to think about how is this person, how would they be with certain caregivers that you have, and put that in place.
I love what you said about meeting them where they're at,
mm-hmm.
because just because an individual might be confused or having struggles to get their daily checklist completed doesn't mean that they're in danger. It might mean simply that they need just a little oversight and assistance, like a little partner to ensure that they get through that checklist and all the way to the other end. But being able to differentiate that there's still great quality of life there, and this isn't a reason to shut down all the doors and lock all the windows. This is a reason that you can get an individual very much like yourself, meet them exactly where they're at, define what their needs are, and then go about helping them get that checklist of life done and done properly, so that they didn't pay the lawn man 3 times this month. And they didn't forget to go to 2 doctor's appointments that were really important this time, and difficult to schedule, because I know even for myself, sometimes setting up a doctor's appointment, it could be 6 months out. So you don't want to miss those things. Those can be destructive in their overall care, right down to, did they hire a pool man, or is the pool vibrant green?
Yeah, amen. Yeah. I don't know about you, but every day I lose my keys, my phone, my something. So I mean, even just those little things,
yes.
That I'm forgetting a little bit. I think it's really hard for these people to advocate, especially in the hospital, just with doctors, with medication, it's so important to have somebody advocating for you.
Yes, and it's a very stressful time for individuals when they are in those environments during a traumatic moment. So having somebody that they can reach out to, call right away, and that they know is going to come to them and advocate for them is huge. And to have an immediate, speed dial for family members to have a boots on the ground immediately has got to be a huge mental relief for all parties involved.
I would also say it's much easier when you have a relationship with the client or the patient before. Because when you're in crisis, that's a really hard time to be looking for somebody to help. I always explain it like, we already know the medications, we know their diagnosis, we know what they need. So when the crisis happens, you already have somebody, your ace in the hole, your quarterback. So I think that's important too.
I love that. Your quarterback ready to run for you. I love that. That's a great analogy. But it's true. It's that person that's going to pick up and run, has that delivery bag by the door to go.
Yes. Yeah.
And truly that is what an advocate is. You're ready to run and take care of what needs to be done and address any complications after the fact, but getting the job done first and then rectifying any errors to avoid it in the future.
Yes.
I think that those families that bring you into their circle are very lucky to have you and your team be party to their world. And it is a personal relationship, obviously.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really feel privileged that the family trusts me with their mom, with their dad. So it's
because you're working in every avenue of their life pretty much. So there has to be that trust, that relationship, and that connection. Look, I want to get back to this topic. We're going to talk even further about how to identify when a care manager would actually bring in that quality of life we're talking about. But we got to go back to our commercials for just a moment so that our sponsors have a minute to share what they can offer our community. So give us just a second and we'll be back to you.
Great.
At Sunshine Furniture, our 35,000 square foot showroom is filled with the largest selection of in-stock coastal furniture on the Treasure Coast. Dining and bedroom sets, occasional tables, sofas, sleeper sofas, love seats and chairs, and all the latest styles and colors from Tommy Bahama, Lexington, Hooker, Riverside, Universal, Four Seasons, Braxton Color, and Capri. We're the outdoor furniture experts and have hundreds of styles of any patio furniture you need, including a gallery of Berlin Gardens and Pollywood. We're having a big February clearance sale, which includes all Tommy Bahama and Lexington in stock or special order, 50% off. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in Vero Beach, next to Planet Fitness. Family owned and operated since 1991. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com and don't forget to visit our outlet and sales store directly across the street.
Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Sunshine Day. Sunshine.
Hi. See, that was so fast. I barely had a chance to blink. Thank you to Sunshine Furniture. And as always, I want to thank our show sponsors, and that is the legal team at Rooney & Rooney, as well as the financial team at Conway Financials. Without their direct support and sponsorship, we wouldn't be able to bring you a weekly shining lining, or excuse me, silver linings, for the, just like that. So we were talking before we went away to break that we were discussing how do we identify what are the individual groups and industries that help in this industry for care management. And I just, before we roll into identifying points of interest for families and caregivers and trust teams, I want to talk about RN Life Care Advocates. I know that you work with them to help families. What is their goal? What is the mission with them?
I think always we're trying to keep the patient or the client as independent as possible. Always try to keep them home if we can. So we start off at that point, and then sort of determine, like I said, ascertain sort of what they need and how we can help.
So when we talk about groups like yours getting involved into the family, it's an in-depth relationship. It's a relationship, as you referenced earlier. And often families are looking for assistance in multiple arenas of their loved one's life, right? So you had said to me, look, there are 8 areas of knowledge and information that an RN care manager brings to the table for a family. And I thought that going into this next half, we could talk about those in depth a little bit. So we just briefly said something about crisis and when it's happening, and trauma when it's occurring. So obviously that is one of the areas of knowledge that when you come into play, whether it's prior to that or during that, I believe you have it down is crisis intervention. So what does that happen and what does that look like?
Yeah, unfortunately, I would say most of our cases are a good chunk of them come from that crisis place. The family is just very overwhelmed. Maybe the mom or the dad fell, or like you said, they're writing, 2 or 3 checks for the same bill, and that could be the trust or the family saying, we notice some things are really wrong. And so we kind of come in and have to, boots on the ground, try to figure out what's going on. And sometimes, things are in order, sometimes not. I mean, are they taking their medication? Are they on an anticoagulant? Do they have physical therapy? Are they missing their appointments? Things like that. So
stemming a problem.
Yes.
Stemming a problem. And one of the other areas was health and disability. So when you're getting calls that are saying, hey, I need assistance in this particular arena of my family's life, what are those scenarios? Sometimes
they're dementia, Parkinson's, sometimes they're cancer. I mean, it's a variety of things that are going on. Sometimes it's just smaller, they just need assistance with home health. So really it's kind of figuring out what the family needs and meeting them at that place. And then we don't physically do that work. We put the referrals in place. So we find those services that they need, and we have relationships because it's what we do for work, and put that service in place.
So it takes away them hunting and pecking through a process during that time for a new need or a progressing need. What about in the financial arena?
So like we said, sometimes patients are, if they have dementia or Parkinson's, they really can be at risk. They're vulnerable to, outside stuff if they're not aware. So I think kind of finding out, or maybe they don't have the resources. And so because we work with the local resources to figure out what they need and how we can help.
And we talked about housing, because a lot of individuals, they age in place, they're in their home. And when you're young, taking care of a house is easy. It's just part of the routine. You do it all before you go to bed and you're set. And if there's an issue, it's a quick fix because you do it on the weekend. But when you get older or you face a new diagnosis or physical challenge in your life, sometimes it's not so easy.
Yeah. And I would say a lot of people don't plan, really. Some people have long-term care insurance, but a lot of this is like, we think we're just going to be able to stay at home and not have to worry about it. But when you get to the point that you can't take care of yourself, or your spouse can't be alone, it's hard. So I think they're kind of scrambling sometimes to figure out, like, what do I do? Where can they go? And so we work with a lot of resources around that. How can we best help?
Yeah, I know we get a lot of phone calls where somebody is the primary caregiver for somebody else, and then there's a life-changing event that occurs with that individual, and the individual they were caring for is now in need of full-on care, and being home alone is an extremely difficult and challenging situation. So we do hear a lot about that as well.
It sure is, yeah.
So family is one of the arenas of knowledge that you bring in. Well, families are always looking for resources from us. Tell me what that means for you in your industry for private care management.
I think it boils down to trust, like we talked about. If your mom or your dad is in another state and, you don't have anybody there, like, are they getting to their appointments? What's going on? Are they okay? I think sort of building those relationships, and you're sort of their eyes and ears. So I think really building those relationships and building trust with families so that they, and keeping them in the loop. Sometimes we actually will go to an appointment and have the family on the phone while we're there. And that way, it's sort of like
completely in the circle as well. Yeah, we hear that a lot, especially from family members that live out of state. We live in the Sunshine State, but we are also known for having a large population of geriatric individuals aging out in the state of Florida, but most of their family is somewhere else, living life, building business, and so forth. So it is really important. And we talk to a lot of families that believe that they're not able to get a real good perspective of what's happening with their loved one. You briefly said about the local resources. I know that that's pretty much a given. But it saves you a lot of headache when you don't have to spend 9 hours on the phone just trying to figure out one of the needs worked out. So I know that bringing that is a big deal for the families, but advocacy is more than just saying, hey, I'm going to pick you up from the hospital. Tell me what advocacy represents for you in this industry.
I mean, it's all the way down to they don't have groceries coming. We can set them up on Publix, so to have it automatically delivered, or they need physical therapy in place, or, maybe they need to take an exercise class, or, I mean, it can be small things or it can be the big things, like where are they going to be placed? So, I mean, I think we advocate in a lot of different ways. So, yeah.
Providing solutions, essentially.
Amen.
Yeah, and it's often needed because it doesn't, as you age, does not mean that you need to be shuffled out of your home and maneuvered into an environment where you lose the majority of your autonomy. It means that you have to put actions and plans and programs into place so that you can contain and remain having quality of life in the home environment that you wish. Right?
Yes.
So when families find a need for services like yours and they bring individuals like yourself, Lisa, into the circle of their family, it is personal. It's also legal. You handle a lot of things that protect their loved one from scenarios and legality that, keeping them informed and identifying when something might start looking a little bit of concern or where maybe legality might be the route for them. So I know that legal makes up that number 8 in the circle of knowledge that you bring to the table.
Yeah, we work very closely with the elder law attorneys, and that's, they identify a lot of these types of patients that need our services.
Yeah. Well, again, they're a very personal aspect within the family circle of care, and we see that a lot too. And I have to say, it's a beautiful thing when a family prepares and they're capable of actively putting individuals into that role to help keep that quality of life for their loved one in place and keep them safe, because we see a lot of elder issues and abuse in a multitude of avenues here in Florida, not just in Florida, but obviously as we have a large population here. So I love what you do, Lisa. I thank you for your time coming in with us. I have to ask you one last thing. If you had a second to say to families, what are some of the direct indicators to be concerned with?
I would say confusion. Maybe they just, they're having difficulty with their doctors and not being able to advocate to get what they need at the hospital.
These are indicators, reasons to give you a call.
Yes.
And if they wanted to reach out to you, we're going to go ahead and flash your business card up here, because I want people to know that they can call you over our RN Life Care Advocates. They can give you a ring, Lisa. They can talk to you directly. They can determine if maybe you might be a good fit to help alleviate some of the concerns within their family circle.
Absolutely. And if we can't, we will try to get them to who can.
That's wonderful. And that's what we like up here in Silver Linings. We're talking about solutions and individuals that can provide them. And I just am so grateful for your time.
Thank
Lisa,
you.
thank you for joining us. And thank you for talking to us about what it means to be an RN care manager and how it adds quality of life to the individuals in our community. So with that, we will see you next week, and we will be talking with Mike Conway, and we'll be talking about Healthy Money Matters. Have a great week.